Zimbabwe's main opposition leader Nelson Chamisa on Saturday refused to accept a constitutional court ruling that upheld Emerson Mnangagwa's win in presidential election last month. In his first comment since the country's top court overturned the opposition's legal challenge to have the results annulled, Chamisa vowed to lead peaceful protests.
But it is also important for me to note that we have a disputed election, we have a legitimate issue, we have a legality issue, we have a constitutional crisis around the election in Zimbabwe.
In a verdict widely predicted by analysts, Chief Justice Luke Malaba strongly criticized the MDC party's case and upheld Mnangagwa's win. Robert Mugabe's successor Mnangagwa of the ruling ZANU-PF party won the July 30th election with 50.8% of the vote, just enough to meet the 50% threshold needed to avoid a runoff against Chamisa, who scored 44.3%. The elections were largely judged to be free of the violence which characterized previous elections in Zimbabwe. Chamisa insists he won more than two-thirds of the vote. Mnangagwa took over from Mugabe after the longtime ruler was ousted following a brief military takeover in November 2017. He vowed to hold free and fair elections and mend strained relations with the West, but his plan was marred when soldiers fired at protesters on August 1st, killing at least 6 people.
The same constitution that took us to the Constitutional Court is the same constitution that gives us the right to demonstrate. It's actually a constitutional right, which we have not exercised over the past few days on account of examining and executing the constitutional route. Now that that door is shut, there are many other doors. That Section 59 door of political protest is just one of them. Peaceful protest. They know that they can't invite me to a wedding. I was supposed to be the one who was actually receiving the gifts. They know it. That's why they will not even bother, because they know that theirs is a phantom one. But I'm not bothered, because it doesn't matter. It's up to them. I would not go anyway, because you don't go where you know that there's been fraud.
Desperate Venezuelan migrants who made it across the border in time were breathing a sigh of relief hours before Peru's tightened controls came into effect Saturday, preventing those not carrying passports from entering. Thousands of migrants fleeing the crippling economic crisis in their homeland had faced a race against time to cross into Peru from either Ecuador or Colombia, after last week's announcement from Lima that they had 1 week to enter before a passport would be required. Until Saturday, a simple identity card was enough for Venezuelans heading south to escape food and medicine shortages, hyperinflation, and failing public services back home. At one border crossing, Peruvian officers handed out balloons to exhausted children, but many Venezuelans feared it would be a different story once the new rules come into force. Regine de la Portilla of the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, said, "People arrive with very few resources, and after having traveled 5 or 6 days being the shortest, there are people who've been traveling for months." Ecuador opened a humanitarian corridor on Friday and lifted its own entry restrictions to facilitate the Venezuelans' travels to Peru, one of the region's fastest-growing economies with 4.7% growth projected for next year. Ecuadorian Interior Minister Mauro Toscanini said Friday that 35 busloads of migrants were on the move along the route authorities had opened to Peru. Colombia had criticized its 2 southern neighbors for implementing travel restrictions, warning it wouldn't stop migration. Ecuador, where close to 500,000 people have fled this year alone, heeded the warning and lifted its week-long requirement for Venezuelans to produce a passport, all the while helping those migrants reach Peru. Peru citizens largely supported the move, though worried about the impact that the 400,000 Venezuelans already in the country would have.
Espectacular, bien, o sea que valió la pena haber pasado todo lo que pasamos porque lo logramos. A solo 5 minutos para las 12, para cerrar el proceso.
Sí, me siento por una parte tranquilo, pero por otra no, preocupado por mis hermanos venezolanos. Con este problema ahora del pasaporte, bueno, en nuestro país es muy difícil tener pasaporte y bueno.
Up next, DRC Electoral Commission rejects the candidacy of a former warlord. British Foreign Minister praises the temporary release of a UK-Iranian woman.
Sa kabila ng mga kilos protesta na nanatiling
payapa. Dahil sa mabilis na pagresponde ng mga pamatay-sunog, ang apoy mabilis na naapila.
Karoon ng equal opportunity ang ibang mga kababaihan.
Kayahan ng mga kabataan at ipinakita sa pamagitan ng kanilang mga likha.
Nanatiling kulang pa rin ang tubig para sa irigasyon, para sa pagtatanim ng ating mga kababayang magsasaka.
As we live in interesting times.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 7:30 hanggang alas 8 ng umaga.
May I walk you across the street?
By the country's election commission on Friday as opposition groups cried foul. The commission rejected the candidacy of Bemba, a rival to DR Congo President Joseph Kabila, on the basis that he had been convicted by the International Criminal Court in March 2018 and handed a year in prison and a €300,000 fine for bribing witnesses.
Quant à l'élection présidentielle, nombre de circonscriptions, une seule, la République démocratique du Congo. Nombre de candidats reçus, 25, dont une femme et 24 hommes. Sont déclarés recevables, 19. Et sont déclarés irrécevables 6. Enfin, numéro 6, Mbemba Ngombo Jean-Pierre, parti politique MLC. Il est déclaré irrécevable suite à sa condamnation par la Cour pénale internationale à 1 an de prison et au paiement de 300 000 € pour subornation des témoins. Extrait du casier judiciaire.
Bemba's war crime convictions were overturned by the court in The Hague, and he returned to Kinshasa in August after being acquitted. Just ahead of the Election Commission's announcement, the political opposition to President Kabila issued a fresh rallying cry accusing the powers that be of seeking to exclude multiple opposition candidates. According to a statement signed by Bemba and exiled opposition politician Moise Katumbi, inequality and unrest, the watchdog Transparency International ranked it 156 out of 176 countries in its 2016 corruption index. Bemba lost presidential elections to Kabila in 2006 and was later accused of treason when his bodyguards clashed with the army in Kinshasa. In 2007, he fled to Belgium, where he had spent part of his youth. He was then arrested in Europe on a warrant by the ICC for war crimes and has been freed for 3 days. He calls on the Iranian government to go the whole way by releasing Zaghari Ratcliffe completely and allowing her to return to the UK.
All of us welcome today's news. It's extremely positive, and we want to thank the Iranian authorities for what they're doing, whilst not forgetting that she should not be in prison in the first place. Nazanin is innocent. She has a 4-year-old daughter, Gabriella. She has a devoted husband. She has friends in both Iran and the UK. And frankly, every day that she is in prison is a reminder to the whole world of a gross injustice. So we call on the Iranian authorities to capitalize on the goodwill from today's announcement by going the whole way and releasing Nazanin and allowing her to go back to her family, come back to the UK, which is where her home is, and end this totally appalling injustice.
Zaghari Ratcliffe was reunited with members of her family, including her young daughter, outside the Iranian capital after her surprise release. Her husband, Richard Ratcliffe, said in statement, Nazanin was released from Evin prison on furlough this morning. Initially, the release is for 3 days. Her lawyer is hopeful this can be extended. Ratcliffe said his wife, who has denied all charges filed against her in Iran, was currently with her parents and their 4-year-old daughter, Gabriela, in Damavand, a mountain resort near Tehran. Her husband voiced thanks to those in Tehran and London involved in making the release happen, including Britain's new Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. Hunt, who met Ratcliffe in London earlier this month after he was appointed as Britain's top diplomat in July, called her temporary release really good news and paid tribute to the tireless campaigning by husband Richard and her friends. Zaghari Ratcliffe, who works for the Thomson Reuters Foundation, the media organization's philanthropic arm, was arrested at Tehran airport in April 2016. She is serving a 5-year jail sentence for sedition, a charge she has always contested. Hunt's predecessor, Boris Johnson, came under heavy criticism after appearing to jeopardize her defense last year by saying she was training journalists.
The suspect in this case is a white male. This is pending confirmation, but we believe the suspect to be 24-year-old David Katz from Baltimore, Maryland. And the FBI is assisting us with that leg of the investigation in Baltimore. We have located and impounded the suspect's vehicle, and a search of that is pending. We believe he stayed somewhere locally last night, maybe at a hotel. If anyone has any information about where he stayed last night, please call 630-0500.
Mayor of Jacksonville, Lenny Curry, expressed his concerns for the city.
Tonight, Jacksonville is mourning. We have faced an occurrence that is all too common and will require us to continue to do the hard work of public safety to make sure that people are safe.
Taylor Poindexter, one of the victims to the shooting, recounted the incident.
We actually caught like a vague glimpse of the shooter. We didn't get like a facial or anything like that, but we did see him have 2 hands on a gun, walking back.
Currently, as stated by the sheriff, FBI Baltimore and ATF Baltimore are assisting in the investigation in Baltimore.
Signing off from Jacksonville, Florida, I'm Patrick Harrington with the EBC Florida Bureau, 1 with 25.
Coming up, we will take you to Multnomah Falls, a breathtaking view all year round. Eagle News, Washington, D.C.
And objective. Only here at Net 25.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 7:30 hanggang alas 8 ng umaga.
Iba't ibang sakuna at kalamidad ang nararanasan ng bansa. Kapag may banta ng panganib, kailangang maging alerto at kung kailangang lumikas ay magtungo sa ligtas na lugar. Bilang paghahanda sa mga ganitong pagkakataon, mahalaga na may gobag na dadalhin ang pamilya. Narito ang dapat na nilalaman ng gobag ng isang pamilyang handa. Mahalagang dokumento sa selyadong lalagyan, flashlight, kandila, posporo at silbato, radyo na may bago at ekstrang baterya, first aid kit kasama ang panlunas sa lagnat, LBM, na madali itong makita at makuha sa oras ng sakuna.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang 1:00 ng hapon.
And feel the mist carried by the breeze. The top tier, a 542-foot tall wonder, cascades down the river meeting the lower tier, a shorter but equally pretty 69-foot waterfall, completing the viewing experience.
Add to that, Multnomah Falls never dries up, making it nature's gift to the Beaver State, 365 days a year.
Having the 611-foot beauty in your backyard, available to admire all year round, is something to be thankful for. From Multnomah Falls here in Oregon, I'm Estella Dominique, and I am Elise Danielle, and we are 1 with 25.
Thank you, Estella Dominique and Elise Danielle. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Rose Papa Angeles, and I am 1 with 25.